Hi, everyone. Welcome to this little Bible study today. And I'm so glad you joined us. And I hope you have a good weekend. Now, I want to talk about a good Bible story tonight that really fascinated me pretty much. It caught my attention. Is David's mighty men. I believe I talked about David's mighty men before, but they got one he really catches my attention. His name is Eleazar, and he's a mighty man of God that actually God uses to actually help Israel. Now, if you want, it's in Samuel as well. I believe it's in Samuel 23. You can find his story in there. But Chronicles, First Chronicles, actually to me does a lot better. It gives more detail, and so I encourage you to go look at First Chronicles, chapter 11, verses 10. So he's in there with a bunch of other characters. So, but he's one of them that really, really got my attention. I was watching a YouTube video the other day about it, and it really, really touched my soul. And I really want to message and explain what I learned from this story, and it's fascinating. And you can go read it. And the story, if you go check it out in the story, he's one of David's great generals. He fought and he did many great things. But one of the things that he's recognized for is actually defending a field, a barley field. The story goes that one day the Israelites were working in the barley field, and there were two soldiers, the Philistines and Israel, actually met in this field. And the story goes that they attacked each other, and what happened was Israel, or the rest of the Israeli soldiers, got scared, and they fled away for whatever reason. We don't know. It's because the Philistines looked more intimidating, or they were outnumbered. It's very hard to say what made them so scared like that, but they left, and they instead of there defending the field and their property and the land that God gave them, they were running away. But there was one man, Eleazar, who stood up and he stood his ground, and he was going to defend the land that God promised them. And that's why he did it. Because think about it, this man was outnumbered. He's about to fight a whole Philistine army by himself. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound like what happened with Samson and so many other people in the Bible, where they were outnumbered? One guy or two fellas, or really a small army, defeating an outnumbered opponent. And they actually, through God's power, they actually defeated, overwhelming odds, defeated a whole army by themselves with God's supernatural strength and divine providence. So that's amazing. I find it's really, really amazing how God can use a few people to achieve great, mighty things. So remember that. Never reject the few. We always, mostly in America, we look for the big numbers and millions of people to be popular or be somebody. But we forget about the small people who made great advancements throughout history in the Bible. So this man, he stood his ground. And why did he do that? Well, he was standing on the promises of God. He's like, hey, God gave us this land. I am an Israelite, and God promised this land to me and to my family and to all the Jewish people. And we're not going to sit by and let the Philistines, the Gentiles, take over our land. This is our property. We have land rights by God. So he said, I'm going to sit here, because he knew if the Philistines took this patch of ground, he knew that they could take other lands. They could take other fields. And he knew that. He says, you know what? If I don't stop them here, or if I don't stand my ground here, they'll conquer more areas. So he knew that. And he trusted in God. And he was trained by David. He was actually probably one of David's weak men, but training with David and being with David and learning about all kind of things from David, it actually paid off, and God blessed him. And he defended his ground. And the Bible said he fought the Philistines all by himself. I mean, of course, he wasn't alone, like the rest of the characters of the Bible, Moses, Samson, David, all of them. They all had God's help. So we say they were alone, but really, human way, yeah, no other humans were with them. They were alone by human perspective, but they were not really alone. God's hand was guiding them. Just like Joshua, God sent an angel to Joshua. I believe that was Jesus. And he's letting Joshua know, you're not alone, you and the children of Israel, in this battle. I'm with you, and I'm going to bring the victory. So we got to remember, there's God that works with us. if we work with him. And he protects us and he helps us fight our wars. And he's back and behind. He's pretty much the man behind the scenes, pulling the strings. He's the one who gives us the strength to fight our enemies. And so he defended his ground. And the Bible said he just was swinging that sword. I mean, he was knocking them out, you know, and he was one blow from another. He was killing them like Samson did, but said with a sword, not with a bone. But the Bible makes it clear that he won a rare, great victory for Israel. He fought so much that his hand cleaved to his sword. And that's why I like, when I looked it up for tonight's study, that's why I looked like the first book of Chronicles, because it tells that part of the story. Samuel, I don't think does, but Chronicles does. It says that his sword cleaved to his hands. He was fighting so much that his hand gripped, where he can actually, they couldn't even pull the sword from his hand because he was fighting so much. And so that's an amazing thing how God brought a great victory. And you know, through this man, we can learn that we don't stand alone. That's what I like about the story. A lot of times, to be honest, we think we're alone. We think when everybody else has abandoned us, and sometimes we want to give up, you know, on some things, and we get discouraged. We got to remind ourselves that if we're in the will of God and we're doing God's will, he will not abandon us. And it's just, you know, you do feel like that at school. You know, you might be the only Christian, or at work, you might feel like you're alone sometimes, and you feel like, wow, I am outnumbered. Everyone's abandoned me. But if you stand your ground like Eleazar did and fought to the very end, you will have victory over your enemies. You will fight, you have victory over the world and demon powers behind them. You know, you can fight, you know, with faith in God, you can do it. And with the sword of spirit, imagine he had a sword. So that's a symbol of the word of God. And you got to use the sword that God gave you, and you can have victory. So never feel like you're alone. Always remind the story of Eleazar, where he's like, hey, I am not alone. God is with me. And if I died, at least I tried to defend my homeland, you know. And that's the mind mentality you have to have, like Eleazar did. So I encourage you to read the story. It's very amazing. It really encouraged me, believe it or not, to know that I am not alone. You know, I was watching this video, and this guy said that. He says, you know, one man's faith, one man's courage saved the whole nation. So you can do the same thing. You could save your community. You could save your school. You could save your work you work at, and places, and this things around you, people around you, and places around you. You know, you can conquer them through God's faith if you trust in the Lord. So I hope you enjoyed this short little sermon about him. I encourage you to go look him up. You know, he's a great man of God, and look up David's mighty man. You could probably go on Google and press David's mighty man, and all the scriptures and everything might pop up. So it should be not hard to find. And I also want to tell you about my book that's available on Amazon Kindle. It's on electronics only. If you want to go check it out, I encourage you to go check it out. It's a fictional story, good versus evil, kind of similar what we talked about tonight a little bit. Good versus over evil, and through God's divine providence and faith, you know, just like this man did, the characters in my book overcame the powers of the darkness and over evil. So if you want to get it for your grandchildren or your children, or if you just want to read a good Christian fictional book that glorifies your Christian values and support your Christian conservatism, please, I encourage you to get it. There's so many movies, so many books out there, and sadly, most Christians do this. They go support people and companies that don't believe in Christianity and that don't believe in your values, Christian or conservatism. So please don't send your money and support people who are against you. Support people like me who are Christians and who are trying to make a difference in the world. That's like Eleazar did back in his day. So I encourage you to please go buy it. It'll be available in ebook. And I hope, and please tell others about it, and tell others also about my book and Brothers Just Searching. Everybody helps. Every person helps. Every individual can make a difference. So I hope you have a great night, and I hope you enjoy this little sermon. Thank you, and God bless.